Hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. So glad to get you guys back in and just enjoying this beautiful, strange weather. I'm not sure what's up with it, but usually at this time in the Midwest is covered in snow, which, I think global warming has a lot to do with what's going on. So, a little bit of housekeeping. If you didn't catch the last episode, make sure you guys check out the last episode because it was a really good one. I had talked about the core CT protocols guide that I have just released a couple weeks ago, and it has been a hit in the CT community. So I know 24 hours that I released it, 10 people purchased the guide. So let me kind of give you a rundown of what is included in this guide. So basically, I have designed this guide for new CT technologists and even brand new travelers. Like if you're new to traveling, this will help you at whatever site you're at. So disclaimer, this is not to replace your site's protocol, book, or anything of that sort. This is merely a reference to use along with your training, and it does not replace any site-specific protocols or radiologist recommended protocols or recommendations, okay? This is merely a reference, and it is stated that in this guide. So what I did was I got my little brain together and all the notes that I have written down, all the clinical experience that I have, and just all the protocols I've used throughout the years and combined it into this guide. So I give you 10 of the most common CT exams and protocols that we execute every single day and put it together in this guide. I've also got a few pages in the beginning as far as patient centering tips, contrast, what happens if something goes wrong. So all that is entailed into this guide. So if you want a little short video of it, make sure you check out TikTok. I'll link that video in the show notes so you guys can check that out, okay? So you can get this guide in two different versions. So there's a digital version and then there's a physical version. Both of them do include two courses. One is a common CT exams and protocols. The second one is a contrast media course. Then you will also get a bonus 10 episode audio series, the CT Tech Cheat Code, along with your purchase of the guide. So digital version is $44.99 and the physical version of it, including all that stuff, is $54.99. So if you're interested in that, link in the show notes, go check it out, go get yours today. Also, make sure you follow on TikTok. I go ahead and break down more protocols. YouTube channel, there is a lot more educational videos going up where I will be dissecting protocols one by one and also doing some CT registry review educational material as well, because that has been highly requested. So make sure you check all that out. Everything is in the show notes so you can go subscribe and follow on TikTok. So in today's episode, I am going to be talking about why the term that is used, and I hear this all the time, you will learn with time, is bad CT advice. Now, I have heard this probably more than once in my entire career where I've heard other technologists say, in time, you'll just learn it. And I'm going to explain to you why this is bad advice. And I don't think this is advice that you should listen to. So the reason I feel that this is bad advice is because I am calling out all the lazy teaching masked as encouragement and training. Listen, I know that's going to trigger the fuck out of some of you, but hear me out, stay with me, and listen, okay? You and I both know that there are technologists out there that exist in many facilities that just don't know how to train people properly. I can tell you that one of the techs that I work with knows somebody that is like this, okay? So I am calling out all the lazy teaching because when you are teaching new technologists lazy ways of how to do things and cookie cutter training and button pushing techniques, you mask this as encouragement, which it doesn't encourage. They don't learn anything out of that, okay? And especially when you just say, push this button, push that button, and the technologist asks you why we're executing that the way we do, or why we're pushing that contrast as quickly as we are. What kind of anatomy are we looking at? And your response is, well, I don't know. We're just the tech. We're not the radiologists. I hate that fucking answer every single time because I miss the days where radiologists, you can walk into the reading room and they would actually teach you something. Because now a lot of them read remotely and they just don't want to have the time or don't want to bother when it comes to that, which that's an entirely different episode. So the problem that I see is that time doesn't fix confusion without structured training. Okay. With time isn't going to fix, oh, well, I'm confused about a PE study on why it didn't turn out, or I'm confused on why we need a certain access the way we do. I'm confused on why we have to wait 65 seconds for an abdomen and pelvis with contrast CT. Okay. When you have a system set up or a department set up where your training is structured, your techs are knowledgeable, they can go ahead and get those people trained in 8 to 12 weeks time to go ahead and operate on their own. Time doesn't fix that. Okay. It's making sure that you do a lot of repetition and making sure that you do things right the first way, making sure you practice those exams, making sure you ask the right questions. Okay. So I'm sorry, but time isn't going to fix how confused you are, or you'll just learn with time. It's all bullshit. You have to have a structured training program or a structured training like checklist or something in your facility to make sure that those new technologists that are transitioning know exactly what they're doing. Okay. Here's the other thing. You're waiting to feel confident. That's a big one. The only way that you're going to feel confident is by practicing and repetition. It's not about ego. It's not about this or thinking that you know everything. It is about making sure that you have practice under your belt and repetition of those exams. And those exams are going to feel very boring and convoluted. However, when you practice and you have repetition over and over and over and over again, you're going to be a better technologist and you're going to excel. Now, here's another one that I come across: fear of making mistakes. Listen, you have to remember we're all human. Humans make mistakes, okay? And as long as you acknowledge your mistake and you're accountable and what can I do to not repeat this mistake, that is what's going to make all the difference. I can't tell you how many times I've called a radiologist and said, you know what, I screwed up. I didn't do the without on the CTA head, which we know at our facility, because this is our protocol, that we have to do a without before we do the with contrast. And I admit, and I just say, hey, do you want me to bring the patient back like after an hour, 2 hours? And sometimes 9 times out of 10, they're like, you know what, I don't really think I need it. So no. So acknowledging your mistake, taking accountability for your mistake, and making sure that you understand what you need to do next time to not repeat the mistake is super duper important. Okay. Now, comparing yourself to more experienced techs. You cannot compare yourself to other experienced techs because I work in a department where there's like roughly around 30 technologists. Okay. I mean, we are a very large department with 5 CT scanners. The thing is that all of our experience come from different places. We were all taught differently. But the thing is when we execute exams, it's the same result. Okay. So you cannot compare yourself to, Susan, who can whoop out a PE study in seconds, versus Sally, who has to take like an extra 5 to 10 minutes to get it right. You can't compare yourself because everybody's learning curve is different. Everybody's speed is different. So you can't go at the speed of a tech who's been scanning for 30 years versus a tech who's been scanning for 2. You have to stop comparing yourself. You have to shape yourself into your own, person, into your own type of technologist that you want to be. You can't compare yourself to others, okay? Because they've had other training, they do things maybe a little bit differently. So you cannot compare yourself to other technologists, okay? Comparison is not a good thing. And I've seen that so many times in different facilities that I work at, that they're trying to compare themselves to other technologists when a lot of times, they don't have the same knowledge or the training that you're trying to compare yourself to. You have to educate yourself in a way that you understand, that you are able to grasp, and that you go at your own speed and you develop your own experience. You cannot compare yourself to other people. It's not going to work. Okay. So what I see is that there's a lot of time wasted. Okay. New technologists feel very behind when the right framework, the right structured training, the right things could have been implemented from the beginning or even sooner. A big takeaway is that in CT, I feel there is a huge disservice because the way we learn CT is not like it is when you go to x-ray school. X-ray school is structured. You have clinicals, you have a clinical instructor, you have this. What I see a lot of programs is you don't really have a clinical instructor that is there on the site all the time while you're doing it. It's like, okay, you go to the clinical site and they rely on the technologists that are there to train you. And I think that's where there is a big disservice, because if that hospital isn't set up correctly to making sure that they're executing your training in the right way, it could be a huge disservice to you. Okay. So my takeaway in this video is that when you have structure, when you have a proper training process, even a checklist, when you have those things in order, it does shorten the learning curve, that you're able to execute those exams like you're supposed to, and you're able to learn and grasp the concept a little bit easier. Sometimes people grasp it a lot faster. Sometimes people need a little bit more time, but at least it makes the learning curve easier and for you to grasp the concept of CT with all its complexities in a much easier way. So that is what I have for you as far as today's episode. Hopefully that was a little bit insightful. So if you want a copy of the Core CT Protocols Guide, make sure you check out the show notes. So there's two versions of it, a physical and a digital version, and go get your guide today. Also follow on TikTok where I, talk about all the CT things, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast so that you can get the latest episodes when I go ahead and release them. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode, and I will chat with you guys in the next episode. Yes, Carl.